asking us about coronavirus. One that's been on everyone's mind is if social distancing is working right now. Pat Doris looked at new projections and has the answer.
It appears that Oregon's social distancing is working extremely well. We're hearing a lot of grim news from different parts of the country, but that's not the story in Oregon. Here in Oregon, things are looking very rosy. Last week, we heard from researchers in Bellevue that are used by the Oregon Health Authority. They said that even if businesses were reopened today, there would still be plenty of hospital capacity for the expected surge in COVID-19 patients. Today, we're hearing from an institute connected to the University of Washington. They basically are saying the same thing. They estimate that our worst day will be April 21st. That will be our surge. They expect 227 hospital beds will be needed by COVID-19 patients, but there'll be 2,600 available. They expect we'll need 47 ICU beds for those patients, and we'll have 210 available. And they think that we'll need 40 ventilators for the sickest of those patients. But Oregon has more than 800 ventilators. So yes, it looks bad around the country, but it looks extremely good here in Oregon.
Okay, that's some pretty encouraging news. I wonder how Dr. Claire Wheeler feels about it. Public health specialist with OHSU and PSU, been joining us frequently and talking about how important it is for everybody to stay home. You just heard what Pat said there about when we're expecting to see a spike in cases. So here in Oregon, it's going to be the end of this month. What are we seeing with the numbers, and what do you expect to see with this increase of cases as we go forward the next few weeks?
I have to say, I am very encouraged and happy to see how well we're doing here in Oregon. And especially considering the fact that we are sandwiched between two pretty intense hotspots, both Washington State and California are not doing nearly as well as we are. And so I think that we have good reason to feel cautiously optimistic about the coming surge, which is coming, and our ability to deal with it. And I'm totally okay with the fact that we sent some ventilators to New York City because they are really, really hurting right now. But that does not mean that we should let up. It does not mean that we should go back to work or stop the social distancing that we're doing. We got to get through this hump and then reassess.
So let's talk about masks for a minute. That was really a big topic over the weekend because late last week the CDC came out and said, you know what, maybe everybody should be wearing a mask, right? But there's a big difference in the types of masks that are available, what we should be wearing, the ones possibly we can make here. What do people need to know about the masks they should be wearing and how safe they are actually making themselves when being susceptible to catching COVID-19?
Yeah, so there are basically three kinds of masks. One is the N95, right? That filters out the virus itself when you breathe in. So when you're wearing that mask, everything you inhale is filtered. Those masks have to be saved for the people taking care of the sick. They have to be in reserve for our doctors and nurses. And there is still a terrible shortage, even here in Oregon, of N95 masks. So those need to be set aside for them. Then there's the surgical or the paper, or the kind of the mask that we wear in, say, the ER when we're doing low-risk procedures. Those do not prevent you from getting the virus. They can cut down on the likelihood of you getting it, but they won't give you absolute protection. But by wearing that, or the third kind of mask, which is a homemade cloth mask, or a mask that you make yourself, both of those kinds of masks will not give you 100% protection against getting infected, but it will protect the world around you and everyone in it from everything that's coming out when you breathe out. And at this point, it could be anywhere from 25 to 50% of people who are infected who are asymptomatic. So none of us knows whether or not we're carrying this virus. So it's really, really important to protect the world around us from whatever we're carrying in our bodies.
So something that I read that was really interesting to me this weekend, as we here in Oregon and the United States are waiting for kind of our wave to break, as we're waiting for things to peak in the next couple of weeks. I looked at countries that already saw what their peak hopefully was going to be, which was countries like Singapore and South Korea, and now they are starting to see cases pop back up there. As people here start to think about how long we are going to have to live in this current situation, what are you learning from what we're seeing in Singapore and South Korea and other countries that have already seen their spike and are now seeing new cases, and what's that mean for us long term, you think?
Yeah, this is a super important phenomenon that has been studied very carefully, because people were breathing a sigh of relief when the plateau was happening in these countries, and then they're coming back up. But all investigations right now suggest that this is people going back to those countries carrying the virus. A lot of them are going back home from here in the US to places like Singapore and South Korea. And so far, it looks like that is a sufficient explanation for the increase in cases that they're seeing. However, that doesn't really tell us what to expect 6 months from now. We still don't know if you are permanently immune, if you've survived an infection. There's a lot we don't know about the long haul.
All right, Dr. Claire Wheeler, thank you again for taking some time on your Monday to help educate everyone and let them know kind of what we are all learning day by day. So we appreciate your time. And everybody at home, at any time you can send in your questions and we'll get it to an expert. The number on your screen right now, 503-226-5111. If we don't get to yours tonight, we'll be answering questions right here at 7 o'clock, Monday through Thursday. Coming up next, new guidelines say we should all wear masks when we go out, as we were just discussing. But how can you make your own at home? We'll have the answer. But first, a question from Brian in Gresham. This is one we've been getting a lot, actually. He wants to know, is someone who caught the virus and recovered, whether diagnosed or not, immune from it for the rest of their life? Interestingly enough, you just kind of heard it answered there a second ago, but the answer, because the virus is so new, doctors just do not know yet. We're back after this. Kristen Severance joins us now to answer some more of your questions, from mask safety to whether you can be outside in your own yard.
Okay, let's answer some viewer questions now. So this viewer wants to know, is COVID-19 a protein encapsulated with a fat layer? This would explain the absolute necessity for washing hands and hand sanitizer, because it dissolves the fat layer and kills the protein. Is this true? Thank you, Peach, for this question. So yes, this is true, and it's a good thing. The lipid layer breaks down in the presence of soap, which destabilizes the virus's structure, making it unable to infect a cell. Now, this is lucky because we can all just use basic soap and water instead of needing to take potentially irritating and potentially toxic measures to clear our skin. Okay, next question. Is it okay to work outside in our yard using our own garden tools? This question is from Pat. Thank you, Pat. Yep, it's safe and encouraged. So many nurseries are offering online ordering with curbside pickup for starts and plants and supplies, and you can grow a lot of food with even a small space. Doctors say this is something everyone should consider. And our last question here, we are hearing from multiple news outlets that homemade masks are recommended for the general public. This person says, why are we not seeing instructions on types of material, the maximum time we should wear them, and how to clean them? All right, so the CDC has a great FAQ page on this, and it really tells you everything you want to know. It says the mask needs to fit snugly but comfortably against the side of the face. It needs to be secured with ties or ear loops, include multiple layers of fabric, allow for breathing without restriction, and the number one thing here, you want to be able to wash that face mask, and you want to wash the mask every single time that you wear it. We have all of these answers on our website right now. Just go to kgw.com/answers to read this and to see all of the questions we've answered so far.
Kristen, thank you. So Cassidy Quinn did some research to help answer your questions about making your own masks. Then she gave it a try.
I am following a tutorial I found on YouTube from Kristen Omdahl. In her video, Kristen uses a bandana because it's the perfect size to do this face mask tutorial, but I do not have any bandanas at my house, so I have just raided our bin of old t-shirts and found this one with a hole in it, perfect to make into a face mask today. But since I'm using this instead of a bandana, the first step is to cut this into the size of a bandana, which is 22 inches by 22 inches. So, we just take one edge, fold it to the middle. Take the other edge, fold it to the middle, flip it upside down. Now, we're gonna fold both sides to the middle again. Take our rubber bands, put one on this side, put one on the other side, flip it over again, then we're gonna take this side, fold it in, take this side, fold it in, and you can kind of tuck the edges into the other edges. I'm gonna cut off some of these extra bits just because there's too much fabric there. And there we have our homemade DIY face mask. Look, it works.
Not bad. Well done. It is important to remember, and we've been reiterating this time and time again, these masks will only help prevent from spreading the disease, not really prevent you from getting it. Now, Cassidy added a couple of steps on hers to kind of make it a little bit more durable, a little bit more comfortable. If you'd like to watch the full video, we know so many people have. I think they said it had more than 100,000 views or something today. So it must be pretty good. We'll send it to a link to your phone right now. Just text the word mask to 503-226-5111. Again, text the word mask. Now, the FDA has approved a new test for COVID-19. It's a blood test that looks for your body's immune response. And you wanted to know, will this change the testing rate here in the U.S.? NBC News medical contributor Dr. Lippy Roy has the answer.
Yes, so the FDA approved this new test. It's called a serology test, which basically means that it's going to be measuring the antibodies that are produced by the body. Unlike the current other swabs, like the nasopharyngeal swabs, which measure antigen, this will be an antibody test. And what that basically means is that it's going to be giving us a sense of the prevalence of infection. It'll give us a better idea of just how widespread the infection is. So that's the main point. Again, it's not really going to tell us the level of immunity, and it doesn't guarantee immunity, but it'll give us a sense of maybe who could be immune to the infection, and maybe these people could potentially go back to work. But really, for now, it should be a helpful test to give us a sense of how many people really have the infection.
Okay, coming up next, answering your questions about hand sanitizer. Does it change the pH level of your skin? We're going to have the answer for you. But first, there have been a lot of questions of financial questions right now during this time. You wanted to know, is there any information on the status of paying the arts tax? Well, the answer, due to the mayor's emergency declaration, the deadline for the arts tax has been pushed to July 15th instead of April 15th. Welcome back. You wanted to know, does hand sanitizer change the skin's pH level? And if so, would it make you more susceptible to infections and viruses? Our Verify team found the answer.
Just look at these posts on Twitter. People warning about hand sanitizer, saying it could damage the pH level of your skin and can actually make you more vulnerable to infections and viruses. So is there any truth to this? Let's verify. We spoke with these three skin experts. They tell us that your skin's pH level is related to skin hydration. And yes, alcohol in the hand sanitizers can leave your skin parched, and that would change the pH.
Most hand sanitizers are either neutral or basic pH, meaning 7 or up, and our skin likes to be acidic. It's range between 5.5 and 6.5.
So we can verify, hand sanitizer can change the pH level of your skin, but does it make it more susceptible to viruses? Not exactly, according to our experts. They say if your skin gets so dry that it cracks, it could weaken your defenses against germs and bacteria. But there's no evidence that you would become more vulnerable to COVID-19.
To the best of our knowledge, that is not how virus is entering. It's entering through your respiratory airway.
The American Academy of Dermatology backs this up, saying, quote, "There's no evidence that using hand sanitizer makes you more vulnerable to infections or viruses." So for now, we can verify that part is false. All of our experts say, please continue using hand sanitizer as well as soap and water.
All right, there are a lot of questions about a drug used to treat malaria and lupus and its use fighting the coronavirus. But doctors, including infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci, say the overseas study on the drug called chloroquine are not scientific, and the drug carries cardiovascular risks. Kristen Severance talked to a PSU chemistry professor who specializes in the drug.
Are you worried that because people are so desperate and, we keep hearing about these drugs, that people are going to, try to get them and take them on their own?
Well, it may not be that easy to get them in pharmaceutical grade on their own, at least in this country. But there was that couple in the Southwest who obtained it as apparently an aquarium maintenance preparation and took the drug in what was clearly an overdose. And that sort of thing could really be problematic. The other concern is that we reserve enough of the drug for people who need it for the conditions that they're currently in use for, such as autoimmune diseases. And the patients really need those, and they should still be able to obtain them.
Coming up next, there's so much uncertainty about our economy. An NBC News business correspondent tells us how the virus is having an impact. But first, Kathy wanted to know, can COVID-19 be transmitted on our pet's fur, like if another person pets our dog? The answer, it is possible for the virus to live on a pet's fur, though there's no known case of it being passed that way. But to be conservative, you could avoid having other people pet your pets. This health emergency continues to cause concern about finances. We asked NBC News business correspondent Jolyn Kent how the virus is impacting the economy.
But the good news is, because we're starting to see a potential slowdown, you do have the markets, the Dow today, reflecting that in its close. You saw it close up over 1,600 points. So it's good news on that front. But we know there's so much volatility when it comes to the stock market right now and for the economy in general. So public health officials are not changing their message here at all.
Now, you've likely heard that the Oregon Zoo is closed and there have been layoffs there. So how are the animals doing? Keely Chalmers has the answer.
The zoo gates here are closed to visitors, but it is almost business as usual inside. Essential staff members are working around the clock to care for the roughly 2,000 animals inside here, and they're practicing the same social distancing techniques with the animals that they do with each other, and so far, so good. And I learned today the zoo's actually taking this unique opportunity to conduct a special research project to find out if some of the animals actually miss us. Staff members are monitoring the animals to see what they do differently when there are visitors here versus when there are not. Should be some interesting findings. From the zoo, back to you.
From the zoo back to you. I like that. And thank you for joining us tonight. KGW is, of course, committed to continuing coverage on this coronavirus outbreak. If you still have questions, our past stories may have some answers for you. Go straight to kgw.com/facts-not-fear to get caught up on all of the latest information and our previous reports. As always, we are here Monday through Thursday at 7 o'clock to answer your questions. Thank you for being with us tonight. Continue to reach out to us with anything you need to know about this pandemic and life as we know it day in and day out to change here in the city of Portland. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow.